What's up, fellow tycoon? It's Marquita, aka your brand building bestie, aka the saucy tycoon. And as always, I'm here to help you find your vibe. If you're new to the channel, I help creative entrepreneurs find their vibe in brand marketing by helping them to create a superior brand, leveraging brand marketing knowledge and Web3 technologies. So today we're going to be talking about you versus you. So today's video is basically, we're gonna break down the entrepreneurship journey, and we're gonna talk about how you can stay focused in your journey of building your superior brand, things you're gonna need to look out for. So this is basically like a mindset shift type video, and we're gonna be talking about some things that are gonna be really pertinent on your journey of building your superior brand. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get straight into you versus you. All right, so we're gonna be starting off, of course, talking about entrepreneurship, the journey. So with entrepreneurship, you probably hear a lot of things about how hard entrepreneurship is, and most definitely entrepreneurship is a challenge because it is very spiritual in nature, and that means that it causes you to grow. It causes you to go within. It causes you to confront and face all of the things that you tell yourself in your head about who you are and what you can and can't do and what your fears are. So it's very spiritual in nature, and I think a lot of times people kind of leave that out. Most of the times what you hear is, hold on you guys, hey. All right, excuse me, I have cats. And most of the time, what you hear when people are talking about the entrepreneurship journey, they're talking about, you know, how hard it is to make sales. It's more on like the business side, the profit side, and things of that nature. But at the very foundation of it, it's going to be a spiritual journey. And if you can take care of yourself at the foundation, your spiritual foundation, getting your mindset right, then everything else flows. Okay? So entrepreneurship, aka the journey, and on this journey you have the illusion versus truth. The illusion, which points to things outside of you, the truth, which points to things inside of you. And these are basically like the basis of the you versus you, the illusion and the truth. The outside world, inside world. Their reality, okay? Your reality. So when we talk about illusion versus truth, right, we really have to think about perspectives, and yeah, we really have to think about perspective. So when it comes to illusions in the outside world, their reality, their meaning the constructs, societal constructs that are laid before you even come into this world, right? People at the very top who decided that things were going to be a certain way and created the outside world to project a certain perception. And that perception is not created in your best interest. It's created in their best interest. So that's why I say their reality. Then we have the truth. The truth is inherently inside of you, what you have going on in your universe, okay? That is your inside world, which is in turn your reality, okay? And your reality is going to be made up directly from a perception, but you have to realize, or you have to start to pinpoint, is your reality their reality, or is your reality the one that you created? Okay, so their reality, what they created, which is their perception that they want to project onto you. And your reality is what you create, which is your perception. And your perception, you have to be very careful about, because if you aren't in control of your perception and you're intaking the illusion, which is their reality, what they created, their perception that is being projected on to you, then you intake that. And for some people, this overrides this. So some people let their perception override your perception, or their reality override your reality, their illusion overriding your truth, okay? So when you wake up to the fact that entrepreneurship is basically just a journey of you taking back control of your perception and creating your reality, understanding your inside world, and putting away those things that are not conducive to your inside world, which is going to help fuel you to success, then basically that's pretty much what's the word I want to use? Basically, once you deconstruct from their perception, their reality, and are able to get back in the creator seat of your inside world and project your reality, your perception, then you take back control of the entrepreneurship journey. So in short, the reason why a lot of people say entrepreneurship is hard is because it is a spiritual journey, which causes you to have to go in and deconstruct and dissect parts of yourself and figure out what's conducive to you being successful, what's not conducive to you being successful, which is thoughts, beliefs, perceptions. And a lot of times they're rooted in illusion, which is their perception instead of your perception. So once you go in like a surgeon and you cut out their perception, it's like a cancer, and you get your truth, then this makes the entrepreneurship journey much, much easier to embark on. There's still going to be challenges, of course, because like I said, it's a journey, a very spiritual journey in nature that causes you to have to go within and work on yourself. It'll be a lot easier because you don't have this overriding your reality, okay? All right, so we're gonna move on to the next section. But I just wanted to get like a little kind of base understanding in there before we kick off the rest of the topics or chapters in this video. All right. So we're gonna talk more about the outer versus the inner world, okay? And why that is so important is because, like I was saying before, a lot of us come into this world that has been already has a manufactured projection / perception that's being put onto us when we come in to this world, and that tends to override our inner world. A lot of times we take that on subconsciously. Okay? And so the entrepreneurship journey, we're working on fighting to get back control of our inner world while having to face the noise and distractions and everything of the outer world. So when you talk about the outer world, we're talking about any external situations. That could be just like your regular life, where you grew up, how you grew up, the things you have, the things you don't have. Let me see. Noise, distractions. So this could be definitely like TV, family, friends, toxic family and friends, you know. And limitations. And limitations can include perceived and imposed limitations and self-limitations. So any type of limiting factors. So you got your outer world here, and then your inner world, which is going to be your intentions, which can be like your dreams, your desires. Your identity. And alignment. God dang. Okay. So when it comes to these two, we're going to talk about definitely identity. That's an important one. But I feel like, yeah, this is pretty much self-explanatory. Like the outer world is going to be external situations, noise, distractions, and your limitations. This is basically, at the end of the day, everything that you are moving against, you know, moving to shut out, rather. Okay? And then you're moving to program in. And again, that is I'm going to abbreviate entrepreneurship journey. We're going to call it, we're just going to say the journey. The journey. And when I say the journey, I'm talking about entrepreneurship journey. So we're going to call that the journey. Okay, so basically it's moving from this to this, okay? So we want to talk about how you can start moving your focus from being on the outer world to the inner world. So, how to shift, right? So we're talking about how to shift focus. Okay. So we're talking about how to shift focus from the outer world to the inner world, okay? So again, noise, distraction, limitations. All right, so we don't want this. And we're trying to get over here to being intentional, being in alignment, and establishing identity. All right. So one of the first points of shifting is you want to figure out what is the noise. So the noise can be starting with like your mind, right? We all talk in our head or have self-talk with ourselves on a daily basis. And depending on who you are and what it is, but in general, you're either telling yourself positive things or you're telling yourself negative things. And you have to, that's something that you personally for yourself will have to evaluate. Can you or start to recognize and be aware of your self-talk and where that falls in line? Does it fall more on the positive side or the negative side? And figure out, okay, if it's more on the positive side, how can you build upon that and continue to say the right things, the good things, right? And if it's negative talk, you want to figure out where those things are coming from exactly, where you picked it up from. Are there certain situations, certain trauma that's causing you to ruminate on and repeat these negative internal dialogues that you're having with yourself, okay? Your second step is going to be distractions, okay? Eliminating distractions. Ooh-wee, excuse my handwriting, y'all. All right, so eliminating distractions, right? So when it comes to distractions, you know that's pretty much everyday life. So you're gonna want to evaluate your life and figure out what distractions you can eliminate. Now, there's some distractions that you're not gonna be able to eliminate. Obviously, there's things like jobs, family, pets, the neighborhood that you live in. Sometimes you might not be able to immediately eliminate that, you know. There will be things, of course, out of your control and whatnot, but you want to start evaluating what distractions you have in your life and get control of eliminating those distractions. Maybe you have some family that you can limit or completely cut out distractions, friends, you know, certain places that you may go to that aren't conducive to your growth on the journey. So gonna have to do like a life audit, okay? And work on eliminating your distractions. All right, and then your limitations. So explore limitations. All right, excuse the noise in the background. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but distractions, right? And noise, yeah, okay. All right, so explore limitations. So this can be anything like limiting beliefs and any other type of, you know, it could be even physical limitations, anything that comes up as a limitation for you. You want to explore those, and you want to do the same thing with like how you explore in eliminating your distractions and figuring out what is the noise. When it comes to limitations, are there certain things that you're imposing yourself as a limitation that really can be broken down and deconstructed and worked on to where it's not presenting itself as a limitation. Like, do you think you can't do something because of X, Y, and Z? Explore that, figure out where that is coming from, get down to the root cause of it, and work on your noise, any negative noise that might be associated with those limitations, and slowly start to work on shifting your mindset away from ruminating in those limitations and negative noise, and start replacing them with positive noise, or positive self-talk rather, okay? So I'd say how you start to shift focus to alignment, intention, and establishing identity. You want to figure out what is the noise. Once you figure out what is the noise, you want to replace that noise if it's too negative and it's not positive, or it's not conducive to your journey, okay? You want to eliminate distractions that are within your control of eliminating, and you want to explore limitations and work on slowly dissipating any self-imposed and outer imposed limitations that you have set upon yourself, that really, at the end of the day, all of this rather, make up the illusion, their world, not your world, okay? Like we were talking about earlier. Their world, their perception. And you want to transform it we want to transform to truth. Your truth, or your world, reality. Yeah, reality was the word I was using earlier, my bad. Okay? Your perception. And the beautiful thing about this is you get to decide this. When you step into the role of creator on your entrepreneurship journey, when you get into 1, 2, and 3 and are working your way to intentional alignment and establishing identity, when you're establishing your identity, you're taking on the role of creator. You're taking responsibility. Ooh-wee. My handwriting a little sloppy today. You're taking responsibility. Okay? Transforming the illusion into truth, to your reality, to your perception, is you taking responsibility, is you stepping into that creator role. Which means once you take responsibility, that means you're responsible for the noise, you're responsible for distractions, and you're responsible for limitations. So you become a curator of your mind, of your inside. So this is now your responsibility, as to where before it was running on autopilot because you were allowing the illusion or their reality, their perception to override your truth. So once you start transforming into your truth, you take responsibility, you establish identity by becoming the curator of the noise, distractions, and limitations in your mental, okay? All right, and being a creator can be broken down into 2 main actions that you're gonna have to continue to take throughout your entrepreneurship journey. And you're gonna have to get really good at it. And the better you are at these 2 actions, the better the flow of your entrepreneurship journey will be. And those 2 actions are respond, react. Respond, react. So, we'll leave that right there. All right, so respond. When you respond, responding requires you can say cognitive or calculated thinking is how I'm gonna put it. Okay? To an event, right? While reacting is we call this we'll say a knee-jerk, or what's the word I'm looking for? We'll just say uncalculated for now. All right, knee-jerk or uncalculated response or reaction or trigger to an event. Okay. All right. So responding versus reacting. When you step into your creator role and become the curator of the noise, distraction, and limitations in your mind, you have better responses to events. So as we know, like on the entrepreneurship journey, you're gonna come across challenges in life. Life's gonna be throwing things at you. Your brand, when you're building your brand, things are gonna be thrown at you. And what's gonna determine how well you move through those events, those obstacles, those setbacks, is how you respond, which is why it's important to have control of your mental as a creator. Take responsibility for what's going on up here, so that when you're approached with those types of events, you're responding, which you're having calculated and cognitive thinking to be able to respond appropriately in a way that's going to be conducive to you and move you forward, versus when you're not cognitive or calculated, you're doing reactions. And reaction is just a knee-jerk and uncalculated reaction, trigger rather, to an event. So just reacting without really thinking about what's going on and what you're doing. It's just like, you know, someone says something to you that you don't like, that's out of pocket, and like your first response is to snap back with something disrespectful, or like if something doesn't go right while you're trying to fix something in your business and you like knock the computer off the desk, you know, things of that nature. So we all kind of get the gist of like that type of like knee-jerk reaction. So, and a lot of that comes from not having control over your mental, your creative self, your self-identity. If you identify as someone who is in control of themselves, and say rather you're speaking to yourself every day in a manner of things are always working out for you and things are always in control, or the universe is always working in your favor, when you come across undesirable events, you can use that anger, that energy, and alchemize it by first having a calculated and cognitive thinking pattern or approach to the situation, so that it doesn't get you out of your element. Okay, that's very important. So respond, react. Those are the two actions that you will be doing your whole entrepreneurship journey. okay? Fix this really quick. Right, moving on to our next little chapter here. Reject victimhood. This is a huge one, but it can definitely be overcome. So, victim mentality, right? So, when you're stepping into a creator role, remember, we're taking responsibility, and we're taking responsibility of our mental up here, and we're taking control of the ship, curating what we have going on up here, right? So when you step into that role, there's no room to be a victim. You are actively creating with the universe. So you have the power. You're in control of creating your truth, your reality, your perception. So that is why you want to make sure you are not ruminating in a space to where you're feeling like a victim, because that's going to circumvent all of that work that you're doing to be a creator and in co-creation with the universe to bring forth your truth, your reality, your perception, okay? So when you succumb to victim mentality, you can end up in old cycles, going in circles, circles and circles and circles. All right? Versus a creator mentality, you choose to create, okay? And you control your perception. I'm gonna draw some eyes here. And maybe put like a little light bulb or something. That's my little light bulb, y'all. All right, so you choose creation and you speak creation. All right. All right. So as a creator, you choose to create and you speak creation. Things happen for me, okay? Whether it's something that's desirable or not, you understand that all that means is that the universe is rearranging things so that things can work out for you. The best way also that I can explain it as well is that our minds themselves, don't get me wrong, they're capable of great things, but when it comes to like having a database of information, that's why the universe is so good at what it does, which is orchestrating events so that it gets the right outcomes. But you have to feed it the right information. You have to feed it the right frequencies. You have to feed it the right I hate when I can't think of the word I want to use, but you got to feed it the right frequency, the right energy, which requires you to be in alignment, which requires you to choose creation at all times, which requires you to respond, not react, which requires you to speak creation. Speaking creation, when I say speak creation, that goes back to the illusions, distractions, the noise, curating that to where it's conducive to you on your journey. Okay? Things happen for me, not to me. So you definitely want to make sure your focus is always creator mentality focus and not victim mentality focus. Because if not, you're gonna continue to repeat old cycles and keep hitting the wall, so to speak. Oh yeah, I need to. Right, so once you transcended, or I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Once you reject victimhood and you're able to get in a steady focus or flow of being in creator mentality, you will transcend the noise and you will begin to speak more in your power. And how that happens is by you continuing to respond. Respond, speaking in creation, speaking in creator mentality. So to transcend noise, let me see here. Got you. All right, let me see how I want to put this. Should I do this as a chart? All right, so I'm going to do this in a list mode. All right. So to maintain speaking in your power, to maintain being in creator mode, ignoring doubt, comparison and opinions, protecting your vision, listening to your inner voice, speaking from alignment. Okay? All right, so the entrepreneurial journey is comprised of transcending noise and continuing to speak in your power at all times. All right, constantly curating your inner world, constantly curating the noise, the limitations, and distractions. So you maintain that by ignoring doubt, comparison, and opinions. It won't be a perfect journey. These are the things that you are going to battle with on your journey. doubt, comparison, opinions, people having opinions about your vision, other outside noise drowning out your inner voice, and you having to recenter and come back to your inner voice. Okay? So ignoring doubt, comparison, and opinions. Protect your vision, keep your vision sacred. We're going to talk more about this in another video, but protecting your vision, standing firm in it, and not sharing it with everyone, and understanding that not everyone is going to see your vision because it's your vision. Listening to your inner voice. As the curator, as creator, taking responsibility of your inner world so that you can properly settle into your truth and your perception and your reality. That's gonna mean listening to your inner voice at all times. Other people's opinions and advice can come in handy at times, but from my experience, inner voice should be overriding that pretty much 99.9% of the time, because nobody knows what's best for you but you. You're the only one that's in your skin, okay? All right? Listening to your inner voice when it comes to your vision, okay? Because people will definitely try to talk you out of your vision, okay? People will definitely try to project their limitations onto you. People will definitely try to put you in a box, so to speak. So you have to navigate back to your inner voice as often as possible. Speaking from alignment. So this is a big one. Speaking from alignment. So as curator of your inner world, in your perception, your reality, your truth, you want to make sure that the things that you say in your head and out loud are in alignment with that truth. You want to speak in alignment with that. You don't want to contradict that, because again, that's going to work against what you're doing, what you're creating, It's going to work against what you're creating. All right. So all of these steps take part in shaping your identity, which I'm going to call your creator identity. Okay. And the great thing about identity is it is something that you can become at any time. You don't have to stay stuck, or you don't have to, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't have to accept identities that have been handed to you by family, by friends, by your past. When you do the inner work and you go in and you filter all of that noise, distraction, limitations out, and you figure out and you reprogram those things that need to replace that and work towards programming that into yourself, that's the beauty of stepping into your truth, because you are taking responsibility and control of who you are. You get to decide that identity. And that's a beautiful thing, that we don't have to succumb and subscribe to other people's ideals or identities of that they've curated for us based off of their own truth, their reality, their perception. So there's a lot of people stuck in letting the outer world give them their identity, but you have to take control of that as a creator and assign that identity for yourself. So alignment moves you forward, and alignment equals attraction. Bold faith. Let me stop butchering words up here. All right, so gonna move into the next chapter. I had two separate ones. I'm gonna combine these two. Bold faith and alignment. Yeah, we'll just, for the sake of time, we're gonna put those two together, okay? Hold on 1 second. Why do I feel like my light? I feel like my light, it doesn't seem as bright, but anyway, moving on. So bold faith and alignment, right? So bold faith is resting in knowing that whatever vision you have will come to fruition. And being in alignment is making sure that your actions and your words do not contradict that faith. Thoughts and action must align at all times. At least that's the mindset that we want to have. Is it realistic? No. But that's the kind of mindset that you want to have and push yourself into. But don't be hard on yourself. We're all humans. You're not gonna be able to do it 24/7. But you definitely want to make sure these are aligning as much as possible. Because that's what is going to continue to fuel your bold faith. That's what is going to continue to help you to be able to rest in that knowing, that calm knowing that your vision will come to fruition. Alignment equals attraction. So your alignment becomes a magnet that pulls. Okay? That's it. I was gonna put something else there. All right. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I ain't gonna go too much more into that because I feel like I've said that pretty much multiple times throughout this video. So we gonna move on. All right, I should have wrote this outline out a little neater. Give me just a second, you guys. All right. You and the universe. So at the end of the day, you want to remember that it's not you versus you. At first, it's you versus you. And ultimately, your journey is going to continue to kind of be like a you versus you. Or let's say higher self versus your ego, for a lack of better comparison, or your angel versus your devil, for lack of comparison. You get the gist. So, but at the end of the day, when you're in those moments of your angel versus your devil, of your higher self and lower self, of your higher self or your ego mind, it's you and the universe, your internal world, your inner world, okay? And your you, which is your integration of you with trying to navigate the outer world. You and the universe, okay? It's teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. So always expect support. By walking in bold faith. Getting ahead of myself. All right, bold faith reinforced by holding or having clarity, courage, and conviction. Hold on, let me write this up here. Sometimes I can write and talk, and sometimes if I start talking while I'm writing, I start misspelling shit. So hold on, y'all. All right, sorry about that. All right. So instead of you versus you, it's you and the universe, okay? This is a teamwork, co-creation effort, okay? Co-creation in its finest, all right? So expect support by walking in bold faith. When you walk in bold faith, you are supported, okay? Unconsciously, you are supported. So work on your bold faith, making this stronger. Your bold faith is reinforced by holding clarity, courage, and conviction. And how you consistently maintain your clarity, courage, and conviction is by maintaining your inner world, constantly curating your inner world consistently. That was, what was it? Noise, limitations, and distractions. Okay. Can't make up my mind what I want to do here. My bad, y'all. All right. So just to kind of reiterate, again, bold faith reinforced by holding clarity, courage, and conviction. You maintain by curating your inner world consistently. How do you curate your inner world consistently? By always curating the noise, limitations, and distractions, which gives you your truth, your perception, and your reality, which in turn solidifies your identity. What is your identity? Ultimately, you get to decide what that is, but I call it your creator identity. Okay? Oh my Lord. I know it's time for me to go. I can't spell. Trying to make sure I don't run out of tape. Okay, so identity is key here. All right, identity is key here. When it comes down to it, the entrepreneurship journey is a deeply spiritual journey in nature, okay? And it comes down to curating your mind, your limitations, your noise, distractions. You got to take the front seat to that so that you're not allowing the outer world to get in the driver's seat of your shit. You know what I'm saying? So identity is key. Those things make up your identity. When outside things are allowed when outside things create a perception and you take in that perception, it influences your identity. It takes a hold of your identity. It starts to shape that identity for you. So that's why it's so important to go in and start to curate that, take control of that, understand what's going on with you on the inside, understanding where things come from, why you do certain things, why certain things trigger you, why you think certain things, why you think certain ways, things of that nature, etc. So all of those things are important in understanding so that you can better create an identity that's going to serve you. You get to, like I was saying earlier, you get to decide what that identity is going to be once you become aware and cognizant of all of that. And that's the most powerful thing about being on the entrepreneur journey. And that's the reason, or that's what is going to be a key indicator of whether you're going to be successful in your entrepreneurship journey or not, is whether you identify as what you are trying to become or what you're trying to visualize, what you're trying to create. If you can't identify with it, if you don't have an identity in that ballpark, you know, then it's not going to work. It starts here. It starts with with your identity. But you got to go to the base ground level. You got to go through that journey and you got to do the work. And a lot of times that's why success is short-lived, because people skip that step. You know, they put on an identity like a mask. Then they don't build it from the ground up. So when you just put on the mask falls off. It's not attached. There's no adhesion. You know, there's no authenticity there. There's no work put in there to keep that mask or that identity secure. So it's a false identity, you know. So I'm gonna stop rambling, but y'all get the gist. And if there's anything you have a question about, please leave it down in the comments. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for sticking it out. And I really hope you took some value from this video today. I think this is probably gonna go down for me as like one of the most important videos I've done so far on this channel, because it deals with the psychology of being an entrepreneur, of building a brand, a superior brand, because it really does start on the inside, you guys. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. All right, Once again, it's Marquita, your brand building bestie, aka the Saucy Tycoon. Make sure you go to the website saucytycoon.com and check out my products and services. If you would like to work with me or download my free intro to brand building ebook, that information is going to be in the description underneath this video. Once again, Marquita, your brand building bestie, signing out. Peace.